Welcome to Hanging Out with Robert, that's me. This video contains things that I tinker with throughout the day. For step-by-step detailed instructions of those tasks, you can click on the links in the comment section below. I plan on leaving this video accessible for about 30 days. After that, you can view it through my Patreon account. This video also has tips and tricks that I've learned over the years. So, thank you very much for watching. My starter is going bad on Panther. I turned the key twice. Nothing happened. So basically, when your starter get a dead spot, you can turn the key and nothing will happen. And you keep doing that and it'll inch around sometimes to a live spot. Sometimes it helps if you go outside and tap on it. See, it caught. Took about 8 or 9 tries. This is the second time this has done that, so I need to get a starter for this vehicle soon. Take care of a few things on that white 850. If you look way back there, you can see our snow caps. Just on the east side of Albuquerque. Anyway, I'm going to do the starter, put the fuel pump relay back, put this trim on the front, and put a control arm on this car, and maybe I'll have time to do something else after that. This car will probably fire right up. It was starting pretty easy when it was cold. Yep. Nope. Starter kicked out again. Hope I don't have to replace it right here. There it goes. Third time's a charm. Guess I'm going to do the starter last, let the engine cool off, because by the time I get around the block, get this thing parked, the engine's probably going to be too hot to pull that starter. So let's see what happens. Still pretty cool, which is good. It only got up to there, so hopefully within an hour I'll be able to do that. Starter loose. Seems like we got some over torqued lug nuts here, and man, that makes it real hard for women if they need to change a tire on the road. It's over torqued stuff for the burn. Bad ball joint. It's so bad you can see it. The whole dang thing moving. Look how loose that ball joint is. If a ball joint falls out, your wheel falls away from the car. Now I got this Meili HD, better than OE, supposedly. I got it from FCP, lifetime warranty, and they were kind enough to give me a veteran's discount. So I'm going to tap this in place, set the bolts in place, and then load it, torque it down. The nice thing is it gave me new hardware. Now the old hardware, it stretched the yield bolts, which means your last torque is a degree torque. Those bolts are stressed. If you reuse them, they could break. Sad enough, I had a couple of those right there. One of those came out, broke on my daughter's car. Wasn't glad to hear that I set my daughter up for that failure. But use new hardware whenever you can. Request it, buy it. I used to always reuse it. I say you're probably safe reusing it once, but you torque those things down for the 3rd and 4th time, they're liable to snap, fall out, and hopefully you're parking like my daughter was and not flying down the highway, or you may have some excitement. Torque down, time to put the wheel on, and here's the screw in the tire. Time for you to put this trim piece on. The one I have doesn't have a wiper hole, so I need to drill out the trim piece I have, then slide it on there. As you can see, it didn't have a wiper access hole, but on the back side of there, it has a shadow right there of where that hole was normally cut in. You could use some kind of roto tool or just drill a couple of holes in it. Won't look as pretty, but it'll be there. Roto tool's better. I forgot these things have this notch under there for where the wiper rest goes. So I had to notch one of those in there. Not pretty, but it looks better than that whole piece being missing. So next I got to put the fuel pump relay back in. There's a jump wire in there now. I don't know if you guys remember, but Buster Brown sold me this car, and he told me that he installed this relay, and the previous owner did a fuel pump for 800 bucks. So let me put this relay back in here the way it goes, and that should be good to go. Next, I'm going to do the starter. You a little bit about starters. In this video, I want to talk to you about starters. These are starters that go in your normal combustion engine cars. This is an older starter here, but it's good. It was removed from a car that was being decommissioned, I'll say. A starter, I used to tell people this is the strongest electric motor I know of. But now with these new electric cars, those things have electric motors on them that I'm sure are more powerful than these. At any rate, this is your standard starter in cars of old. When I say that, I mean cars older than 5 years. Cars that are not electric. This is the components of a starter. You got the starter motor that's encased in here. If I pull this part off right here, you would see a electric motor. This part has what's called the Bendex. You see the teeth on that thing right there. When the starter is energized, the motor turns and this is pushed out to here. And this piece here is mounted flush against the transmission, and those teeth will slide out and grab the flywheel of the engine and start turning the engine. And then the engine turns fast enough, it gets a little fuel, it starts to spark because of the rotation of the engine, and it'll spark, fire, and begin to run. The starter is what causes the engine to quote unquote turn over or crank. Turning over and cranking is the same thing. Last but not least, you have the solenoid. The solenoid gets the signal from the ignition system to power the starter. The starter gets the power directly from the battery. That cable, big cable leaving the battery, goes right over here and connects to this part of the starter. And so the starter is always getting power. The starter is grounded because it is mated up against the transmission and engine. So that grounds it. And then you have a little wire that connects here. That's the wire that is energized on the solenoid when you turn the key to the start position. Now, the starter on this car is having an issue. It sits this way because it goes out, hits the flywheel. When this starter on this car is energized, the Bendex comes out for about a second. It starts to crank the engine, and then the Bendex is de-energized and it goes back in. I would say that's a problem with the solenoid is bad. The solenoid is not holding the Bendex out, and the starter motor is turning. I can hear it turning, but it only cranks the engine about a quarter of a second every fourth try. When I got in the car a few minutes ago, and I got a video clip to show you, I clicked the starter, it energized the engine for a second, and then you can only hear the starter motor turning. Then I did the same thing and energized it again, and you could only hear the starter turn, not the engine. And then the third time it started up. So I'm going to remove the timing belt, move that coolant bottle out of the way, timing belt cover, and see if we can demonstrate that happening. I don't know if this will act up this time, but I'm going to go over there and I'm going to crank the engine, and we're going to see if the starter causes the engine to bump and stop. Let me go turn the key so you can see what's happening. We tried to start that time. I want to get it when it's going to miss. You might see it turn a little bit when it catch. It missed when I first started turning. Alright, you got a good demonstration of it there. I'm sure you saw the cams turn and it tried to start the engine, but it failed to engage the second 2 tries. You also can have a situation where the generator has a dead spot. The generator is a round spot, a round electric motor, and if it gets a dead spot on there, and for some reason that solenoid tries to energize that dead spot, it may only twitch it and not allow it to start rotating. That's what's going on with my car there. I turn the key, I don't hear nothing. If I had the hood open, I could probably hear a little click. Sometimes you'll hear a click and nothing happen. I click it again, and every time I click it, that generator turns just a little bit until it gets off of that dead spot. And then when I turn the key the next time, it'll work normal. And it's getting past the dead spot because it's starting to turn so fast. And it energizes, kicks out the Bendix, turns the flywheel, cranks the motor, starts the car. So I also need to replace one in my car. But for now, we're going to go ahead and replace this one in this car. Sometimes when people have a starter that has a dead spot, they'll get something, find the starter, that's the starter down there, and they'll tap on the starter with something hard, like a blunt stick or a little piece of metal rod. They'll tap on it while somebody's trying to crank the engine and hoping that that thing will twitch around to a good spot on the starter and then fire the car up. So cranking and turning over is the same thing. That is the job of the starter. Once the starter's engaged and the engine's turning, it should get fuel, spark, compression, air, and the timing's right, it'll start the engine. So if the engine is either running or it's not running or it's cranking and turning over again is the same thing. Pulled the battery out of the way, pulled the dipstick out, pulled that clamp off of the dipstick there, took the tube charge pipe from the intercooler to the throttle body, took the throttle body tube loose, pushed it up out of the way, unplugged the idle air control valve, unplugged the throttle position switch, reached way down there, took that bolt loose from that starter down there. I usually do not put that back. You can see the light spot there. Pulled the top 14, broke the other one loose. Now I'm going to ratchet that one out while I push the starter toward the passenger side. But before I take that bolt loose, I take the sensing wire, unplug it, take the bolt off the back of the starter, and pull these wires off and out of the way. So let me do that. That way, as I move the starter, I don't have any hindrance from the wires. But this bolt has very little space, and that way I don't have to take the fan out or nothing like that. As you can see, the starter's loose. That bolt is still in there with the wrench on there. I'm gonna pull that wrench off, and hopefully I'll have room, I think I will, to pull that starter up and out this way. Starter, I'm gonna wiggle it past this transmission dipstick tube. This may be in the way a little bit, this throttle tube here. I don't want to take that off, but I may spin it out of the way, so let me see what's going on here. Tube around, put it right angle, slid right out of there. So let me slide the replacement one in there, start that bottom bolt, start that top bolt, tighten those bolts down, and then hook up this rest of this stuff. Okay, I've made a massive mess with the tools. I did not put that 12mm bolt back into the engine block from the back of that bracket on that starter. But I'm gonna go ahead and look everything over real quick one time. I got the battery clipped back in down there. Let's go and see if it fires up. Now, anytime you're gonna replace a starter, have that starter tested at least 3 times. I don't care if it is brand new. A brand new starter could be a bad brand new starter. So let's go ahead, stick the key in it, crank it up, see if it starts, if the alarm is not triggered. Roll. Fired right up. So I'm going to go ahead and use my tool to reset that service light. So we could show everybody how to do that. And this car should be good to go. In this video, I'm going to show you how to reset the service light with the OBD2 tool, Bluetooth type, and with the software that I downloaded, the 850 software. First thing you want to do is have the car off, plug that in, turn the car on, don't start it. Now I'm going to see if my screen recorder will work, because I don't see my camera where I can record my phone. Now that the key's on, I'm going to hit this 850 app. I'm going to hit the Bluetooth. I'm going to tell it to connect to the peak. I think everything's set. So I'm going to go to service, clear, reset SRI. Service light. Not connected. Let me try to connect it again. I hit the play button up there. Alright. I hit the play button on the app next to the Bluetooth app. Now it says, now I'm hitting the reset. The SRI. You see that it's running. 73%. 83%. It says it's finished. Okay, now I'm going to back out of the app and start recording with the normal phone recording again. Now that I'm done with the app, I'm going to cut the key off. Now I'm going to start the car. I should not have a service light. No more service light. Good to go. Alright, let the car run for a minute so it doesn't get lawnmower syndrome, and wrap all my tools and stuff up. There we have it. Car is running nice and smooth. If you feel that this information was useful, please like it and share it with your social media friends. You can subscribe to my channel so that you will get notifications of future videos that I post. You can follow me on Twitter, and if you need to contact me directly, please visit my website. And if you have any questions, leave them below, and someone or myself will reply to them. Again, thank you very much for watching.